Hello viewers, this is your boy Motoba from Motoba Insurance College. Earlier on we looked at chapter 1 that talked about the introduction to insurance. Today we're going to look about risks and insurance, that is chapter 2. Thank you for tuning. Let's keep tuning up to the end of the chapter, that is chapter 18. So let's introduce this. There is no single definition that has been advanced to define the term risk. There is no way one can separate risk from insurance. In this chapter, we have to know that we shall define the term risk, its components, characteristics, and classification of insurable risks, as well as we will appreciate the methods of handling risks. Let's start with the components of risk. We have to know that insurable risk refers to the conditions that are vulnerable to the danger of loss to a person or property, or it can be defined as in these 7 terms. 1, the chance of loss, where chance implies doubt about the outcome in a given situation. 2, which is unfavorable. 3, the possibility of loss. 4, the probability of any outcome being different from the one expected. 4, a combination of hazards. 5, the uncertainty of loss. 6, a condition in which loss or losses are possible. I think there are 7, sorry. Generally, a condition is an insurable risk if, let's repeat again. Generally, a condition is an insurable risk if, are we together? If 1, the peril insured against must produce a definite loss not under the control of the insured. 2, there must be a large number of homogeneous exposures subject to the same perils. 3, the loss must be calculable, I think, and the cost of insuring it must be economically feasible. 4, the peril must be unlikely to affect all insured simultaneously. And lastly, the loss produced by a risk must be definite and have the potential to be financially severe. So all that defines that. Let's talk about components of risk. Risk has 3 vital levels. The first, uncertainty. This implies some doubt about the future based on either a lack of knowledge or imperfection of knowledge. Uncertainty exists even when the person exposed to risk does not know of its existence. For example, in our daily lives, we can use the example of not knowing when one will die or get involved in an accident. Secondly, a house being broken into or a house catching fire. It is uncertain. So the second being levels of risk. Some risks are minor and occur frequently, but with minimal impact or severity. Shoplifting, for example, high frequency with low severity to those affected. Some occur rarely, but the impact is severe. For example, plane crashes and marine accident, that is low frequency with high severity. Let's talk about risk and the cause of the loss. The term peril and hazard are sometimes used interchangeably with each other and with risk. Risk is often used to mean peril and hazard. Peril is the prime cause of physical loss, for example, theft, fire, and hail. A hazard is a condition that may increase or decrease the effect of peril. For example, the nature of construction in fire insurance or the state of health in life assurance. Hazards may relate to the physical characteristics that may increase hazards in fire insurance. For example, the type of construction, location of the building, age and place where the vehicle is kept in motor insurance. Moral nature and behavior of human beings connected with the subject matter of insurance, withholding material facts, lodging fraudulent claims, exaggerated losses, and carelessness. Let's talk about the classification of risks. 1, financial versus non-financial. Financial If outcomes can be measured in monetary terms, such as material damage to the building affect fire or theft of goods. Non-financial. If the outcome, though undesirable, cannot be quantified as emotional attachment. Let's talk on the second part, being the pure versus the speculative risks. Pure risks involve loss or break-even situations. These risks might not only be unfavorable, but may leave a person in the position he or she enjoyed before the loss, such as fire, burglary risks. Secondly, speculative risks involve loss, break-even, and the possibility of gain, such as buying shares or inventing a new product. Another one happens to be fundamentals versus particular risks. Fundamental risks. These are beyond the control of human beings and are indiscriminate in nature. For example, earthquakes, storms, and tempests. And landslides that were previously uninsurable but can now be insured. Secondly is the particular risks. These are personal in nature, and their consequences affect a particular individual. For example, fire, theft, and motor accidents, and these are insurable risks. Let's talk about the characteristics of insurable risks. 1. Fortuitous. These are accidental in nature as far as the insured is concerned. It is not possible to insure against an event that will definitely occur. No uncertainty. Monetary terms. Second, monetary terms. For property insurance, the value is easy to determine. In life assurance, the value of life may not be measurable, but the sum assured would be determined at inception, being generally limited by the ability of the assured to pay the premium. Third, insurable interest. There must be a legal relationship between the insured and the subject matter of insurance. 4. Homogeneous exposure. A large number is exposed to similar losses. 5. Pure risks. Insurable, unlike speculative risks. 7. Particular risks. Personal in origin and consequences. For example, fire, theft, and motor accidents. Unlike fundamental ones, beyond one's control, earthquake, for example, hurricanes. And then lastly, we talk about just and moral. Insurable risks must never be against public policy in terms of what society considers just and moral. Example is where we cannot insure stolen property. That is true. Let's talk about methods of handling risks. Given the negative consequences that insurable risks present to individual and business lives, there is a need to devise ways of handling risks, and some of these include avoidance. Here, one realizes the risk exists and can decide to keep away from the event that exposes one to that risk. An example is the ability to deter your motor vehicle from plying a route that is considered insecure. Second, retention. This implies that risks may be retained intentionally or unintentionally. 1. Intentionally. Individuals realize the existence of the risk and therefore decide to create a fund from which losses are paid. Involuntary retention. Individuals or organizations do not see the existence of the risk. Here, we need to consider factors such as frequency and severity of the risk. Let's note that large, unpredictable risk requires insurance. Another one happens to be the reduction. Measures are taken to minimize the frequency and severity of risks. Here, we have pre-loss risk reduction. Example, police escort in money insurance. Another one, employment of guards another one burglar proof, another one fixing fire sprinklers, and among others. Let's talk about risk transfer. Here, the financial consequences of an event are shifted to another party. For example, the landlord may shift the risk of the house catching fire to the tenants. The transporter can shift the risk of loss or damage to the owner of goods. Risk transfer, usually done through suitable worded contracts of insurance. It is also an example of how to spread an individual risk across many people in order to make it more bearable for individuals exposed to such risks. Yeah, that happens to be chapter 2. In summary, we need to note these points. Risk. Insurable risk refers to the conditions that are vulnerable to danger of loss to a person or property, and it can be defined as 1. We looked at it. The chance of loss, where chance implies doubt about the outcome in a given situation, which is 1. Unfavorable. 2. The possibility of loss. 3. The probability of any outcome being different from the one expected. 4. A combination of hazards. 5. The uncertainty of loss. 6. A condition in which loss or losses are possible. We talked about components of risk. Risks has 3 vital levels. 1. Uncertainty. 2. Levels of risk. Risks as the cause of the loss. We talked about that. Then we also talked about classification of risks, which happen to be financial versus non-financial, and pure versus speculative risk, and fundamental versus speculative risks. We also talked about the characteristics of insurable risks. We also happen to talk about fortuitous, that is the accidental in nature as far as the insured is concerned. It is not possible to insure against an event that will definitely occur. There is no uncertainty. Another one must be measured in monetary terms. We also happen to talk about insurable interest. There must be a legal relationship between the insured and the subject matter of insurance. Do not steal. Homogeneous exposure, large number exposed to similar losses. Pure risks, insurable, unlike speculative risk. Particular risk, personal in origin and consequences. Insurable risk must never be against public policy in terms of what society considers just and moral. An example is where we cannot insure stolen property, just as I said. Methods of handling risk, we talked about avoidance, retention, reduction, risk transfer. All that define chapter 2. Thank you for listening. This is still your boy, Motoba from Motoba Insurance College. Join me in chapter 3, next video that talks about the principles of insurance. Salam.